episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde. I am joined alongside my good friend and co-host Tony Cepeda. Yes, I just had a voice crack there, but nothing's as bad as my voice crack than the loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 38-3. Bears get absolutely spanked again on national television. Honestly, this loss, the score looks worse than the Cleveland game, but it wasn't as bad as the Cleveland game, but it was right there. Just an absolute embarrassment, of course, from Matt Nagy and his squad. A lot of guys were out today. A lot of emotions are flying around Bears fan base right now. So we're just going to keep it real. This thing is unscripted. We're going to go defense, offense, who we should get rid of. And we're going to see what you guys think. We're going to see what you guys, we want to hear your guys' thoughts because I know everyone is mad right now. And that was the longest game of our lives, by the way. Like, it felt like the game was never going to end. I thought halftime was the fourth quarter. Like, seriously, it was absolutely horrible. But before we dive into it, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Stupid Car Tray. Stupid Car Tray can save the day for your pizza, takeout, kids playing in the backseat, not getting crumbs everywhere, but they could not save the Chicago Bears today for their life. I don't think anyone could have saved the Chicago Bears, but we could save you 60% off your order on stupidcartray.com. Link in the description. Use code JAY16. Tony, 38-3. Bears fall to 3-4. When did you know the game was over? Like, was it before the game? Did you already know it was over? Like, when did you know the Bears were like this? The nail was already in the coffin.
Well, first of all, I feel like it's safe to say my prediction of the Bears running the table the rest of the year was incorrect. Who knows? They might still win 10 straight from here on out. But I'll just hand up. I apologize for even thinking that was a possibility. I didn't really, but I thought everyone would, maybe rally around the
We're
Bears.
optimistic.
Maybe, we'll put out an effort maybe as a team. That's what I was hoping for. We didn't. Starting when I knew it was over. Okay, so obviously I was worried after the first drive. Justin Fields nearly dying right away. But that 3-minute mark when we punt it, they return it to like the 32, and they just easily score. It was like, oh, it's one of those games where they can just do whatever they want on every, because sometimes, okay, the offense is bad, the defense picks it up, or even like the special teams at least does something. It was just bad in all facets, except for Cairo Santos,
nothing.
Of course. Cairo Santos, best, and Pat O'Donnell were the two best players on the team, had a tackle, technically. It was just embarrassing. 3 minutes in, that's my answer right there. Did you, same thing? How about you?
So I watched the game with my dad, like I usually do, and he bought the Lou Malnati's Italian beef combo. Super good, loved it. I was like, we're in for a good day. My girlfriend and I, we made banana bread before the game. I was like, this is gonna be a good game. This is gonna be good. After the Bucs, when Matt Nagy chose to receive after winning the coin toss, I was like, Bears are gonna lose this game because Matt Nagy is an absolute moron. It was an absolute disgrace, and if he has a job within the next hour, so I'm saying that at 6:37 p.m. Central Time on Sunday, October 24, 2021. If Matt Nagy has a job within the next hour or two, like the Bears are a joke. The front office is an absolute joke. If you think that's okay to get blown out twice on national television, I knew it before the game even started. When Brad Biggs tweeted that out, I was like, yep, here we go. This is it. We're going to get blown out. And sure enough, 38-3. Absolute disaster. Tom Brady in the Bucs scored 21 in the first quarter. I don't blame the defense, though. I don't. The defense had Robert Quinn out. The defense, Bilal Nichols. Let's just go into the defense right now, Tony, because that's just the order we're going. And they gave up a total of 408 yards, 226 passing yards from Tom Brady, which is a low amount for him, but he had 4 touchdown passes. They gave up 182 rushing yards. Unacceptable. 5.8 yards per play, 28 first downs, 4 for 12 on third down. They were 1 for 2 on fourth. They had a total of 70 plays. Did not get 1 sack on Tom Brady. Just an absolute disaster. Like, I am drained from how bad this game went for the defense. So there was no energy on the defensive side of the ball. If you look at how the Bucs front seven went after Justin Fields, and again, much different offensive lines. The Bucs have one of the best offensive lines in the game, of course, because they're protecting Tom Brady. But, the Bears just look like they didn't want to be out there. That's just how I'm going to, it looks like they purposely lost today so Matt Nagy could finally get kicked out of the door. That was just my initial reaction to this whole game. And I hope that's the case because Matt Nagy lost the locker room, but no one's talking about it. But I want someone to go to that podium and be like, yeah, we're frustrated. There's no leaders on the defense. There's no leaders on the offense. it was an absolute disaster overall. Tony, I want you to start off with kicking things off with the defense. I have a few things I want to say, but I've already said a little bit about the penetration to the quarterback, but what a disaster. Just absolute disaster.
Yeah, and obviously Akeem Hicks was out too, so that does hurt you up front. However, that's why we have these guys like Bilal Nichols that are supposed to not.
Eddie Goldman didn't show up either.
Yeah, it's so, and of course, but the biggest thing is that we saw now a team without Akeem Hicks, a guy that we're not going to re-sign, or we might not re-sign, we might not be able to afford because we're signing these guys like Jimmy Graham, who he didn't make the trip. Obviously, it's not his fault or anything. But I mean, we weren't going to use him anyway because we'll get into the offense. But I'll say that because I got some Cole Kmet comments, not about him, about Nagy. But again, the defense, you're right. It seemed like they just didn't care after. I mean, they were put in terrible positions to start. They started on, I think it was their own 32, their own 40. And I think the other one was like just over the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
But I know, I think it was Tony Romo or Jim Nantz were like, oh, you see what could happen when the Bucs actually start in their own territory because we got like one stop finally. So they were put in bad positions. And so, yeah, I don't entirely fault them. I really do think it was just a bad game for them. They were set up to fail. Things snowballed. They were tired. They were out there, the whole time, just getting beat, getting demoralized. The offense is doing nothing out there. So I'm not going to freak out about the defense. I think it was, again, we didn't have Akeem Hicks. We didn't have Robert Quinn. It was kind of weird. Tayshaun Gibson Jr., Sr. is still out. So it just sucked, man. It just sucked.
Jalen Johnson. So Jalen Johnson did not look like himself, like the number 3 corner in the league for the first 5 weeks of the season. Like Jalen Johnson just looked defeated against Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. No matter who he went against, like Jalen Johnson, the last 2 games, even against, if you go back last game against the Packers, there was a play where when Devontae Adams scored, Jalen Johnson looked like he just didn't care. And that was before the fine. Now that he has the fine, now it looks like he's not even trying even harder. Matt Nagy's lost the locker room. Like, a couple notes that I have for the defense, but I'm just going to put that out there. Matt Nagy has lost the locker room. They gave up Tom Brady 4 touchdowns in the first half. In the first half, Tom Brady, 4 touchdown passes. There was no energy on defense. Roquan Smith was the only guy that looked like he kind of wanted to be out there. Bilal Nichols, what are you doing punching a guy in the face when you're down by 30 points? You got suspended. You're going to get a $20,000 fine. You're probably going to miss a game. Or he got ejected. Not suspended, not yet. There was no pressure on Tom Brady. He had all day in the world. And yes, you don't have Robert Kim. Yes, you don't have Akeem Hicks. But that's championship teams with depth win. And that's not going to happen when, Travis Gibson isn't getting after the quarterback. Khalil Mack is getting held every play. But Mack also looked like he didn't want to be out there either. You look at the speed. I know he's playing with an injured foot. But, nothing was working. Eddie Jackson couldn't tackle for a damn today. I mean, Eddie Jackson needs to go. I'm sorry. I have the autograph up there. If someone wants it, I might be giving it away soon because it's nothing to me now. Robert Quinn deserves an apology for last year with how important he is to the defense now. And again, if Mack was hurt, have him sit out because now he's going to still be hurt next week. He played on that foot. He barely did anything in practice this week. It was just a disaster. I mean, I don't blame Sean Desai though, because, it's Tom Brady. But his guys weren't giving any effort. Never sent the house or anything. And when he did send the house, they weren't doing anything. So overall, just so deflating, absolutely deflating by the Chicago Bears. The only positive that I can say from the defense is Duke Shelley and DeAndre Houston Carson. They were actually out there trying. They were hitting guys, deflecting passes. They were doing their job. And without Tayshaun Gibson Sr., like you said, who was out with a hip injury, it just they wanted to win and they kept going. But man, no show from the defense. And they didn't do too bad. I mean, you look at the Bucs stats, they were 4 for 12 on third down. So they were holding them. The Bucs took advantage of a lot of situations, though, especially at the beginning of the game. And the Bucs only had 6 more plays on offense more than the Bears. So with that comment, let's kind of go to the Bears offense. Obviously, no touchdowns today. Cairo Santos, shout out to you for the only points for the Chicago Bears today. Tony, I think this game wasn't as bad as the Cleveland game, though. I know the scoreboard doesn't say it. I know that it was only 20-9 against Cleveland, but we only had 47 yards against Cleveland. We had 311 yards against a tough Tampa Bay defense. 143 of them rushing. And Tampa's arguably the best rush defense in the league. And Khalil Herbert, and mainly Khalil Herbert, just ripped them up, had over 100 yards rushing, did really well. I mean, Fields technically had 168 passing yards, but, with the sacks and everything, he had 184 passing yards. But the Bears offense, I mean, Khalil Herbert was only the only bright spot on that team today. And shout out for him being on I know he's on your fantasy, he's on mine, but just what a disaster. Absolute disaster, even though they did much better than the Cleveland game. Just what a disaster.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Khalil Herbert is a boss. Told you all. I was screaming from the rooftops. He was awesome. I was at that Bears-Bills preseason game where they lost 40 to whatever it was. But I knew he was the guy, and I was right. So shout out. He is the only guy giving an effort on this. Justin Fields is too, of course. I'm sure there's guys giving efforts out there. But, I mean, he seems like he wants it more than really anyone else out there. And so a couple of my biggest takeaways were they actually go back to our keys to the game, or I think it was what the Bears can improve on. It was one of my comments. It was about the offense and how they, they'll kind of have a drive going. Like you said, they had over 300 yards. So they kind of get a drive going, they get in the groove, and then, Jason Peters or Sam Mustipher just, I don't know, die for a play. And then Justin Fields gets sacked, fumbles, has to recover it on his own. Jason Peters just looks at the ball, goes, "Oh, eek a ball," like an elephant seeing a mouse. Furious about that. I am so mad at Jason Peters for making those business decisions. Dude, I don't care if you're just out there to get paid, trying to not get hurt, whatever. Dive on that football, because I'd rather you get hurt than Justin Fields. I am so mad at Jason Peters' lack of effort when that ball is bouncing around and he's just standing there looking at it. Oh, okay. There's my rant. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
So what they do, they do that, and then second down, they try to run it, or they throw a ball incomplete, and then third down, it's 3rd and 13, they pick up 6 yards and they punt. That's why we can have 360 yards, but we have 3 points to show for it, or we have these interceptions at the end, we have these turnovers. They just shoot themselves in the foot constantly, and it's infuriating. And I assume it was still Bill Lazor calling plays today. It felt like Matt Nagy, obviously, but
it felt like Matt Nagy. But yeah, I mean, Bill Lazor's, if it is Lazor calling the plays, like he's not much better than Nagy. And we were big Bill Lazor fans out of the gate. But what happened? Like Matt Nagy claims everything goes through me. So I feel like Bill Lazor is like a multiple choice test. He gives Nagy like 3 options, and Nagy always chooses E. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just an absolute disaster. And I agree with you. Mustipher is not the center he was last year. Not dominant at all. Jason Peters, 39 years old, but still inexcusable. I get it. But he's got a veteran minimum. So, dive on the ball. And you're still going to get your money. Like, that's what I'm saying. If he's hurt, like, he could just chill on the sideline, make a couple million and do whatever. Again, Khalil Herbert was only a bright spot today. I hats off to him, but I know you're going to get into Cole Kmet, and I'm just going to kind of lead into that subject, Tony, but the drops today were unacceptable. Darnell Mooney had a first down written all over it, dropped. Cole Kmet, same thing, dropped. There was a couple other big drops today. I mean, just like, you're not going to win football games if you're dropping the damn ball. That's just, wow, Nick, you must be a true analyst. No, I'm literally just wake up and smell the coffee. Like, if you move the ball, you're going to win or be competitive in games. The Bears still almost had 5 yards to play. They weren't much worse than the Bucs, but the Bucs actually took advantage of situations. The Bears were in the red zone a few times, took no advantage of anything. Just Khalil Herbert, they should have used him more today. That's what really frustrates me about this whole entire day. If anything from the offense I want to talk about is that they did not use Khalil Herbert enough. He was the only bright spot of the offense. He was making things happen. And I know Justin Fields needs reps, but Justin Fields had 3 interceptions today. I get he's a rookie. Totally understand that. But if Justin Fields is this legitimate rookie, I know a lot of people are going to be mad at this next comment. Deshaun Watson was in a very similar situation his rookie year. And I remember Deshaun Watson's first game as a rookie. I think he had like 300 plus passing yards. He had like 4 touchdown passes. Like, he was the real deal out of the gate. I was expecting the same thing from Justin Fields, to be honest. That's how high my expectations were on him. And he's kind of laying flat on his face. And I know, let's just go back real fast. I know Matt Nagy's his head coach. I know Bill Lazor's the play caller. But like, if Justin Fields is as legit as he is, why is he not making more plays? And some of these interceptions are not his fault. Like the one off the tip was not his fault. But, last week against Green Bay, he literally just threw it up, not out of bounds, and let people catch it. And I felt like that was the same thing today that happened against Tampa Bay. Just what a disaster. Like he's put in such bad positions, but he is running for his life. He had a good amount of rushing yards today. But trade everybody. Trade everyone with a big name, with a big contract, get first round picks, get whatever. Tony, going back to the offense, that was my rant. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But what are you doing with Justin Fields at this point? What are the Bears doing? The trade deadline is November 2nd. What are the Bears doing?
Yeah, okay. So the obvious answer is you need to get offensive line help, but it's not exactly, teams don't exactly trade their, starting offensive linemen, especially at this point in the year. Like they're such prized commodities to everyone except for the Bears, I guess. But that's, we're not going to call it the Colts and, what do you want for Quentin Nelson? No, that's unfortunately not.
I think he's
case.
out anyway.
Yeah, well, that's fine. He'd be better than at least 4 of the guys out there. So I don't know. Like you said, obviously it's not all his fault, and he is making these rookie mistakes still. But he just is not set up to succeed. It just truly is. So I'm not out on him, and it is unfortunate that he is struggling. But again, he's not being helped in any way, shape, or form by the play calling, by his receivers dropping passes, by the offensive line just letting it being turnstiles out there, just letting these guys get in. So the other thing that they could do to help him out, that I've been saying, I think every single week that I've done the pregame thing, is you just get your tight ends involved. And when I say your tight ends, I'm not saying a goal line fade to Jesper Horsted. That's not the type of tight end involvement I want. Cole Kmet. I don't care. I don't even care if you throw it to him. He wasn't even on the field for that play. If you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, that goal line fade. I don't think he was on the field. If he was blocking. I was trying to, maybe I was wrong. I got to watch it back, but just put him in the end zone. He's a big target. That's obviously Jimmy Graham was out, but they haven't done that yet with him. I don't know what it's turning into. What's his name? Mike Martz. It's turning into Mike Martz, where he's gonna, where he traded Greg Olsen. Where it's just he's alert. We are allergic to using tight ends, just big bodied receivers, just as a target to help your rookie quarterback. I don't know. Maybe there's some crazy reason. Maybe Cole Kmet has been, sending mean tweets about Matt Nagy's wife, so he refuses to, use them. There must be some reason. There has to be some deep, dark reason we don't know, where Matt Nagy is purposely or Bill Lazor, whoever, is trying to screw over Cole Kmet and the real tight ends on this roster. But it's just sad, and it makes me depressed every time we watch the Bears do this.
So the one thing that's positive about this is I really think this was the nail in the coffin for Matt Nagy. I really think Matt Nagy will be gone tomorrow. I'll wake up, or Chicago will wake up tomorrow, and it'll be Adam Schefter, breaking news: Matt Nagy fired. First mid-season firing as a Bears head coach ever. See, I mean, seriously, this was an embarrassment. If you're the McCaskies, and not even if you care, like the McCaskies, I feel like they care about the money. Again, the number 4, I believe, franchise with value in the NFL. Like the McCaskies, I think, are just like, get rid of this guy. They're obviously making the commitment to go to Arlington Heights. Like the McCaskies, I don't think are going around anytime soon. And if you're going to keep this fan base buying like, memorabilia and everything, you got to get rid of Matt Nagy. Interim head coach, Sean Desai. I don't care if he's a rookie defensive coordinator. Bill Lazor sure can't do it. But I really think Matt Nagy, this is it. This was it for him. He's gonna live in Tampa. You might as well just keep your bags there, Matt Nagy, because you're gonna be as far away from Chicago as you possibly can be, coaching a Florida high school football team and still running, because you can run the draw and slants and win games that way. That's the only offense that works, or age level that works with that offense. So I really think Matt Nagy's gone. I maybe you feel the same, Tony, but I really feel like he's gone.
So I think he should be. That is my response. Do I think he will be? We say this every week. Like to think that it will. We keep saying this, and obviously we've only been doing it for the Matt Nagy years. Obviously, we've only been doing it for a little over a year, but it's been the same way. That's why, like, the whole thing is that they haven't fired these head coaches midseason, and we've had just terrible coaches. He can be like, oh well, we beat the Raiders out in Las Vegas. Oh, we beat, and then I'm sure Virginia isn't making too many of the decisions at this point. She's just happy with her money. But I don't know. He has to go. I don't think they will, and that's the worst part. They will not make the correct decision. That's story of the Bears forever and this season, but also forever. So,
well, okay, so let's say the right decision. So the right decision, if you're going to keep Matt Nagy, at least give him nothing and see how really good of a head coach he is. Because he had, again, I think the Bears have a decent roster. I do. I mean, you know, Khalil Mack, David Montgomery, Justin Fields, Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson, you know, Cody Whitehair, Roquan Smith, Akeem Hicks, Robert Quinn. Like, you have a decent roster. You have a much better roster than, you know, obviously the Lions. And arguably you have a lot better roster than, you know, the Denver Broncos or, you know, a bunch of other teams. I'm not saying that, honestly, like, the Chiefs are just blowing my mind with, you know, the roster they have and, you know, going 3-4 today. Patrick Mahomes might be out for a little while now. But if let's say that the Bears just say, we're selling the farm. You know, we're getting just draft picks on draft picks. We don't have a first round pick next year. We don't, because of the Justin Field trade. If I'm going to give you 7 options, Tony, or up to 7. If you can name 7, who are 7 people that you would even keep right now on the Chicago Bears to rebuild around?
So I'll just start. I'm just going to go right down the depth chart here. Justin Fields, because it's, you know, we can say he's not performing. It's just not his fault. That's just straight up what it is. Yes, there are some very specific plays that are his fault, but the overall thing is it's not his fault. He's so good with his feet too. And he still has that great arm. There's plenty more we can say. Hopefully you guys at least understand why we got to keep Justin Fields around. Khalil Herbert, that's my next one, just because. And I'm gonna not include my guy. I love David Montgomery so much, but you know, next year is his last year, and if we're really gonna burn this thing down, we're not gonna bring him back on a new running back contract, or you know, should we maybe contract. I don't know. But Khalil Herbert, you know, we got him for 4 more years out of Virginia Tech, so might as well keep him. Darnell Mooney. So what is that? What do we have? 3 running out. Roquan Smith 4. If I have to explain that one, then I don't know why you're a Bears fan. I think you understand that one. And Jalen Johnson, I think I'm out. Pat O'Donnell and Cairo Santos. Those are, and whoever our long snapper is. I don't even remember who he is at this point. Patrick Scales. Yeah.
Wow. You know.
Was that 7? I don't even know if that was 7.
Yeah, you're at 7. You're at 7. I think that's fair. I mean, a lot of that is fair. You know, obviously Justin Fields, number 1. You got to keep him. I'm going to go with David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert and you can make a 2-headed monster like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Like, that's just dangerous. You just need an offensive line around it. So I'm at 3, Roquan Smith 4, Jalen Johnson 5, Cairo Santos 6, and my 7th. Honestly, Mooney this season is a lot different. I know he's got that groin injury, but if we're going to truly burn this thing down to the ground, whatever, get rid of him, keep Khalil Mack. I know a lot, like, why would you keep a big contract? You got to have someone on that roster that you game plan around, because David Montgomery is who you're going to game plan around on the offense. And I know I tweeted out earlier, like, you keep Cairo Santos, you keep, like, you know, Bilal Nichols, but Bilal Nichols has been struggling this year. So I'm kind of switching it up later in the season, but that's my 7. I mean, the Bears, Khalil Mack's got a couple years left on his contract, but trade everybody else. Trade everyone else. I feel like Robert Quinn, you can get a 3rd-round pick for, you know, maybe a 2nd, depending on where you're going to. You know, Allen Robinson, can you trade on the franchise tag? I don't think you can.
I'll be honest. I don't understand the franchise tag anymore. I don't even want Allen Robinson back. Like, he is not worth $20 million. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, like, how could you say, look what he's doing this year. And I know that, like, the offense is not doing anything, but Allen Robinson was better when Matt Nagy was calling the plays than Bill Lazor. So just putting that out there, you know, trade away everyone, clear cap, rebuild this thing from the bottom up. And, you know, we have to wait another 3 or 4 years. Bears have been in the playoffs the last 2 out of the last 3 years. All right. You know what? I'm thankful for that as a Bears fan. You were competitive for a 3-year span. And yes, last year was different because it was COVID, but whatever, you still made the playoffs. And yes, the playoff game sucked. You could blame Javon Wims for that one. But overall, like, just, I guess, rebuild this thing again. Do it all over again. Do it right. Get rid of Matt Nagy. Get rid of Bill Lazor. I don't know if I'd get rid of Ryan Pace. I know a lot of people are on Pace's ass, but I don't know. That's who I would rebuild around, but absolute disaster today, 38-3. You just burn it down. I know the Bears are only 3-4, and there's a lot of football left in the season, but look at the schedule. I mean, next week is no walk in the park.
It's not. I believe it's the Niners next week. I mean, the Niners stink, but the Bears stink too. Like, you got the Niners and you got the Steelers, you got the Ravens. And then you play the Vikings twice. It's a division matchup. The Lions kind of held their own today against the Rams. Like, overall, just we don't have a first round pick this year, so the Giants are just getting a great round pick. As it looks right now, if the Bears keep this up, the Giants definitely are getting a good overall pick. So if you're frustrated like us, Ron S always has great comments. And Ron, I hope you're listening. You always give the most in-depth detail because I know you've been a Bears fan way longer than Tony and I have. No, we're not calling you old. We're just telling it how it is. I want to hear Ron's comment. That's what I want to hear everyone's comment. I can't wait for Ron's comment though. So overall, Tony, any last comments before we close today's episode out?
Oh man, we stink. Dave, just to go circle back to David Montgomery. I'm not saying I want to get rid of David Montgomery. If they paid him, I'd be happy. I do like David Montgomery. I just, if we could have a whole episode where we break down the value of running back contracts, whatever. I love David Montgomery. I'm a David Montgomery guy. I think he does things that very few running backs in the league can do. If we're truly burning it down, it's just unfortunate if you're factoring in contracts and stuff.
It's like Jordan Howard again.
I just want to make that clear. I love David Montgomery. I think he's incredible, and any team would be lucky to have him.
He's worth $20 million more than Allen Robinson is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I would rather pay. I
don't want to pay David Montgomery $20 million though.
Yeah, I like Allen Robinson too. I think he is a good, consistent receiver when he is used properly. Has he had the drops this year, and it's just, he's trying to get paid like one of the top 5 receivers in the league, and I just don't think I just don't think it's right. So that's my final comments.
I think that if not Tom Brady, I think if Allen Robinson went to Oakland, Las Vegas. Wow. If he went to Las Vegas, if he went to anywhere that's like contending right now, I think Allen Robinson would rip it up and prove that he's worth that much, but you're not going to get that money on the Bears. I could see Allen Robinson sticking it to the Bears, and, Aaron Rodgers, I don't think is going to return to Green Bay. Devontae Adams has also kind of expressed that. Like, what if Allen Robinson went to the Packers? I saw a trade that someone said Allen Robinson for a 2nd-round pick. I would take that in a heartbeat right now. A heartbeat. Just get rid of the money. And you have a 2nd-round pick next year. The Bears have one next year, but so Tony, it's just a big sigh. Today has just been we suck. Man, I remember Big Cat said it last year. Man, do the Bears stink. Like, they stink. Even though they're 3-4, they're not as bad as the Lions, but it's gonna be a long week. Another big game next week on Halloween. If the Bears are 500 after next Sunday, awesome. Probably the last time they'll be even close to 500 the rest of the season at this rate. So
at least the Bulls are good. It's our
only saving grace. The Bulls are
the greatest team in the history of the NBA. That's just a fact.
Hey, how many teams are 3-0 right now?
Yeah, there's like a couple.
There's one.
Charlotte Hornets just won today, so they're now 3-0. Sorry. But we were 3-0 first. We were 3-0 first.
Before I knew that, how many teams are 3-0? One.
Yep.
And that's the Chicago Bulls. So the Blackhawks stink. The Bears stink. The Bulls, they're going to the finals. So Bulls in 4. Bears are 3-4. Overall disaster today in Tampa, 38-3. Bears fall to 3-4. They're now 3rd in the division, ahead of the Lions. Woohoo! So, Tony, I'm just going to close this thing out. I know people are going to be frustrated. Matt Nagy's got to go. It is what it is. If I wake up tomorrow and Matt Nagy is gone, we'll do a giveaway tomorrow. If Matt Nagy's gone, we'll do a giveaway tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. Bears stall 38-3. Hopefully better luck next week. Stay tuned. We got Bulls. Do you have a Bulls podcast tomorrow, Tony?
Yes, sir.
Okay, stay tuned for the Bulls tomorrow. Much better news. DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine are on a tear. Alex Caruso for 6th Man of the Year. LaVine for MVP. Stay tuned for that. But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody, joined alongside Tony Spito. We'll see you guys tomorrow.